sometimes I really don't think winning solely is enough. There's too many people who are good, right, at it. I think you have to be able to build a community. I think you have to be able to market. I think you have to be able to make your followers feel like there's a connection, giveaways, like all these different things involved as well. It was a 3-man home run parlay. $50 won $14,000. The first leg was Gleyber Torres and Freddie Freeman. So what happened was they both hit home runs within like 10 minutes of each other. So now the whole thing is down to Manny Machado. I wasn't even watching the game. We went out to get pizza and I went into the bathroom because I wanted to see, like, I had to have a million notifications at night. So
what's up, y'all? You got Ryan, the CEO of DubClub. I am here with Matt, the CEO of DeadPresPicks. Matt, how are we?
Doing great. Yeah, thank you for having me. Excited to chop it up with you.
Hey, thanks for coming out. I know we've got a lot of stuff happening recently with the 2024 presidential election wrapping up last night. Sure. I mean, I don't know if you were paying any attention. You had an early morning, yes. So you were probably seeing all the results as it finalized.
I was waking up when it was finalizing.
Yeah. Crazy race. We don't need to get into politics right off the bat. This is a podcast to talk about sports content creators, CEOs like yourselves who are building businesses, informing other people on making better decisions when it comes to betting on sports. We're going to dive straight into it. And I want to highlight some of your expertise and prowess right off the bat and compare and contrast it to mine, which is not a lot because I'm not a sports content creator CEO. I'm just a business CEO. I'm running the business that empowers you guys to be, better and better business owners and educators to others. Let's talk about the Patriots Seahawks Super Bowl. Well, like 6-7 years ago. I don't even know. I think it's 2015.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So 9 years.
Geez.
9
years, yeah.
That was playing in our office.
Yes.
A replay of it while I was finishing up some work once you got here, and I think that Malcolm Butler was. Yeah.
Yep.
So all right. So the situation, as we rewind for everyone, is it's Seahawks, the Seattle Seahawks ball, fourth quarter, like less than 2 minutes to go.
It was like 30 seconds. Yeah, it was
well, they're driving with less than 2 minutes, right? And Russell Wilson, arguably like very good back then. He's doing fine now in the Steelers, but very good back then. Gets the team all the way down to the 2 or 1.5 yard line, whatever. What down and distance was it when the moment happened?
It was second down.
Second down. Okay.
And I think they were at the 1.5.
Okay. Okay, and did the Seahawks have any timeouts?
Yes, they had one.
They had one timeout. Okay. All right, so the situation is it's second down, less than 1 or 2 yards.
Right.
You've got Marshawn Beast Mode Lynch in the backfield, one of the better running backs of our generation. And you've got Russell Wilson at quarterback. What do you do if you're Pete Carroll? And walk us through what you're thinking there.
Yeah, just hand the ball to 24, right? I mean, when we were watching in the office, we were saying, I think that's the worst call in sports history.
Really?
I do. And I heard your previous take on it.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Okay.
So I don't know. I think we disagree with it. Maybe if they don't have a timeout, right? I understand it. Maybe if it's third down, I understand it. Second down now. You can't do that.
Okay. All right. So walk us through that. So for the listeners, Matt is again, CEO of DeadPresPicks. He's been doing this for like more than half a decade, giving out advice on what to bet on, and he clearly knows his stuff. He's a sports fan. He used to play sports. I don't want to give your full intro, but let's walk through if it's first down and you're within the 3 yard line. You got Marshawn Lynch. What do you do? Right.
I think you run twice.
Run on first and second down.
Run on first and second down.
Do you use the timeout after you run on second down if you don't get it?
Yeah, you could have called it with like 30 seconds because they let the clock run down way down, right? The play before.
Yeah.
So I think you could have called it there. And then on third down, honestly, if you need 1 yard, I like my odds of giving it to Lynch again. And if it gets to fourth down from the 1. Maybe then you go to the air, right? But I don't think on second.
So you're running it first, second, third down. Yes. Give Marshawn Lynch three chances to score.
Right. Yeah, at that point. I mean, he was having an unbelievable season. Couldn't stop him all game. Hindsight's always 20/20, right? Like it's easy to look back now, but yeah, I got it as the worst call in sports history. That's where I'm putting it.
Okay, worst call in sports history. All right. I mean, why do you think Pete Carroll made that call?
I don't know. I don't think a lot of people, can ever really figure it out. I mean, the look was also like what kind of gets overlooked is how good of a play it was by Butler. Like I think Wilson thought it was an easy boom, like he had it.
Yeah, one-on-one matchup on the outside. Patriots, New England stacking the box because they think they're going to run. You
Right.
got one-on-one with a corner with a good receiver.
You win that probably 8 times out of 10.
Yeah.
And
Quick slant inside, short throw
that's the
for
thing.
Wilson.
The throw wasn't even that bad. I mean, if you watch the play again, the receiver almost lets up on the play. I wouldn't solely blame Wilson and Carroll for that, but it's fun looking back. It's fun rewatching those games and watching everything like unfold. You know what I mean? Like I always forget the Seahawks were out 10. They were up 10 points with like 10 minutes left in the game. So there's a lot more to blame. You could blame the defense too for not stopping them for a couple possessions.
I think everyone could be finger pointing.
Yeah.
There's the old Bill Walsh when he was coaching the 49ers. It was like, everyone has a job to do, even all the way from the quarterback, Joe Montana, to the receiver, Jerry Rice, to the secretary that's answering the phones, right? Everyone has a job to do. In the moment that they let up, it's everyone's fault. But, Pete Carroll takes the blame. Worst call in sports history.
I got his worst call in sports history. Yep.
Now that I'm curious, what are 3 other
I'll say
really, really bad calls in sports history?
I don't know if I can go 3. The ALCS, right? This dates back when Pedro Martinez, they kept him in that game against the Yankees. And he ends up blowing the game. It's literally why their coach got fired. So I got that one. I got that one up there.
Yeah.
I fired right after that.
Yeah.
That one comes at the top of mind. I'm trying to think of a couple other plays. I could tell you, if you ask me every week, I'll tell you about 6 that the Eagles make every week where they make bad play calls. But I'm trying to think of like other famous ones that you really blame. Like basketball, hockey, like certain sports you can't really blame a manager, right, or a coach.
Yep.
I think football probably gets the most critique because like you see it unfold, and I think people also understand football more. But yeah,
I can tell you one where I was on the sidelines.
Okay, there we go.
And controversial here because he was my coach, but back when Stanford played Michigan State in the Rose Bowl, I think it was 2013, or I guess it was the 2013 season, but it was early 2014.
Okay.
We as a guy named Tyler Gaffney, who was our running back, really good running back. But Stanford's whole thing back then, which you probably knew when you watched them, was like just pound the football, run it. Like we're gonna empower. We're gonna pour our will on everybody else, right? Like no one can stop us. Yeah. Well, the reality is Michigan State had a really good defensive line and a really good basically defense. Period. And we ran the ball on. I think we might have passed the ball to a tight end on first down. I forget the exact sequence, but basically it's like third down, 3rd and 2. We run the ball, get stuffed, and it's like 4th and 1, 4th and 2. What do you think? We try to run the ball again, get stuffed. So that's one series. Yes. Same thing happens again when we get the ball on the next series, where this is like a 6-point game.
Right.
So all we got to do is we got to drive down the field and open it up and score at some point. And same thing this happened 3 series in a row, where it was just the same stuff, get stuffed,
switch up the play,
get stuffed. Exactly. It's like, okay, I can't even pinpoint that to one call, but it felt like that happened a lot. And I feel right now like that is totally, I mean, like a backseat driver, right? This is like sideline coach.
Exactly. Yeah. Monday morning quarterback
on the bench. Yeah, he played like 3 games his entire career. Trying to tell you how to coach.
Okay. The Colts play, the famous fakes punt. You remember that play? The snap. That was. I don't know if that was called.
Was that McAfee or no?
I think it was. Was it? Or was it Ryan? I want to say it was Ryan Whalen. Or was the guy who
you'd probably know more than me. I think
it was. I don't know. I think I just see that play often. But yeah, there have been some bad ones in the history of sports, but also because of the moment, right? Like the Colts, it was a regular season game. It was a terrible play, but like this is the Super Bowl.
This is the Super Bowl. You're supposed to win. You're gonna beat Tom Brady and the freaking Patriots. Yep. Like
have it all on the line. Yeah.
Well, all right, so let's get into the meat of the podcast. Matt and I did a session 3-4 months ago when we got the CEO Corner started. We were doing it remote. I hadn't got the podcast studio set up in San Francisco. We weren't doing things in person yet. But we learned a little bit about Matt's background, how he got into this. I don't think it's ever a bad thing to kind of talk about the origin and how you think about it now that you're going on like 4 or 5 years into the business of selling your advice to other people. But you're on to year 3 of this being the CEO of your DubClub. So talk us through how the evolution of your business has gone and maybe some ups and downs that you've had to deal with.
For sure. Yeah. So to date, all the way back, it actually started with 4 of us, right? So a lot of people don't know that, but there's 4 people, and we were watching a Super Bowl game. It was the Rams Patriots Super Bowl. If you remember, I think it was like 10-0 or 3. It was one of those games where like no one scored. Patriots won that game. Super boring game. But at halftime, I remember we were just looking for plays because we were college kids, having fun betting on the game, and we were looking on Twitter. And at halftime, we were like, "Hey, why don't we start a Twitter account?" Like, and it was kind of like a let's open a bar idea with your buddies, where like everyone says it, but no one really thinks it's going to happen. So we make the account, and as time goes on, I mean, it's slowly gaining traction, like a couple likes on tweets. Like it's very slow. And Nick, who obviously is still a part of the business, with me as well, just not on the content side and, does a lot more behind the scenes.
Yep.
We were, so it was 4 of us. And then Nick and I actually bought the other 2 guys out for $50 combined. So
wow.
Good deal on our end.
Might have been the best deal in this industry yet.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So,
considering
got out of it,
where you guys have gone.
For sure. Then, yeah. And then, from there, it was a very slow, grind of just trying to gain a couple hundred followers a month and build up. And I'll never forget our first sale was made. I was actually at a college baseball practice and looked at my phone after Nick had texted me that we finally got someone to sign up. So it was like a super exciting moment. And in college, I think it was like $25 to sign up for like a month or something.
Yeah.
And $25 goes a long way in college, right? So I was fired up about that. Yeah. That was kind of like the
three 6-packs of beers.
Exactly. That could last you. Yeah. That could last you a weekend or something. So
it lasts you guys about 3 hours.
Yeah. But no, it was awesome because it just. That moment, like I always look back on it, and I'll never forget. The client's name was John Daly. He's actually still a client, which is crazy.
John Daly, the golfer.
Shout out, no, it's different John Daly. That would be sick. But no, this John Daly. Shout out to John Daly because he retweets. I'm not even kidding. Like every one of our tweets every day. Like he's the best.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and he still is. Yeah,
super loyal.
Right, and it was just cool because like how often does your first, 6 years later, your first subscriber still subscribe to your plays and get your plays. So
that's so special.
Yeah.
That first dollar, for any business, it's like that first
you
dollar
remember
is so
it, right?
Special.
Yeah. So that was kind of the moment of like, hey, we can do this, if that makes sense. And then from there, again, it was a slow build up. It took time to kind of gain a bunch of followers, but that was kind of how the business itself got started. Me personally, though, I've always been really driven in sports media and sports content. I mean, ever since I was like a little kid, it's like all I really wanted to do was get into, like most little kids, though, you want to like grow up playing sports. But as I got older, I realized that dream was probably not going to happen. So when I was as young as like 10 years old writing, I used to write, I would call them books, but they were like really this like writing ideas on my old family computer, and it was just about like every week for like NFL games I would like predict who was going to win, and it didn't go to anyone except myself. I just like enjoyed doing it. I would do the same with college football. I would write like a little preview on the college football season. So I think it was always kind of in me to do that. And then when DeadPress came around, it was not a conventional way of doing it because going through college and school, I was kind of always told that it was actually like a dying industry by a lot of people, even, professors that I took their class, this sports media, which was interesting. Yeah. Cause I think what they were, I want to say the class was more like catered to like newspaper industry, right? It wasn't,
right.
So it was kind of like the old
media, definitely
right,
not,
exactly, which is dying, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't kind of the new vision of like social media. So it was a scenic route, right? To like get to where I did with everything. But DeadPress just gave the platform and kind of like the opportunity for now, like these articles that I used to kind of just write to myself, like see if other people like them and see if, can put them to use. So that was kind of how it all started. But yeah, from a very young age, I've always wanted to be in sports media. I did not think it would happen like this, but I'm very grateful that it did.
It's just interesting to hear the origin of DeadPres back in the day. Little Matt, 10-year-old Matt.
Yeah.
I was kind of on the realm of wanting to play sports, and I remember at a time I wanted to go to the Olympics and try to compete there. Pipe dream. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners are folks that love sports, love watching sports, but may not immediately think like, oh, I want to be in sports media. What exactly does that mean to you, sports media, and how has that? I like to use the word. How has that evolved your interest in sports media over time as you've gotten into what is really like a one-to-many, very personalized experience with your DubClub?
Yeah, it's kind of a loaded question of like what is sports media, to your point, because I think there's especially in today's world, there are so many different ways to be involved in sports media.
Yeah.
Where I think I'm 26, I'm not old. Like I'm not saying back in my day, but like growing up, like sports media was kind of, there wasn't really Twitter and Instagram, TikTok, you know what I mean? So it's changed a lot in that aspect. So, when I think of sports media now, like the way I kind of digest my content, it's through social medias, right? Like
Yes.
I don't really go online anymore and read, and I use apps and stuff like that. But I just think, to your point about the evolution of it, Ryan, like I think it's just changed so much in even the last, like since we started DeadPres, like the last 6 years, like the change in content has been pretty significant, over the years. And I think it'll
What do you
continue
mean by
to
that?
evolve.
Like type of content, type of person creating it? I mean, what do you mean by
Yeah, I think a
content?
blend of the both. I think like use TikTok as an example. Like that's probably the one social media where accounts are blowing up all over. Like 6 years ago, I don't even know if TikTok was around. I don't know the exact start of it.
I don't think TikTok didn't surface anything
Right.
really.
It might have been around, but
or
it wasn't
betting.
exactly. Where now I know a ton of people on DubClub, right, or just in general, who have built massive businesses from live streaming on TikTok. So that's just one example. But even Twitter, like kind of the old guard of gambling Twitter, it's very different now. I think now it's a lot more content creation, which I think for some people they might say that's a good thing. Some, the older crowd might say it's a bad thing. But for me and for I think a lot of people, it's kind of opened up a lot of opportunities to where now we can hop on, do live streams, do a bunch of different things. So I just think people enjoy that kind of content more, and just overall the industry is changing every day.
Yeah, it gives me goosebumps because I think about the vision for DubClub and where we're going, and we're slowly but surely becoming the destination where people consume, discuss, and buy sports content from creators like yourself.
Yeah.
And I think there's absolutely a place for that, because if I look at what you guys are doing and compare the evolution of content on Twitter to kind of the evolution of content on Instagram and TikTok, let's just take those three platforms, for instance. You see on Twitter, it sort of started with like anonymous, you didn't even show your face for the first couple of years. It was very information based.
For sure.
You'd put out your plays, I'm going to bet on this, this, and this. And you guys can tell me, you can follow it. You can pay me to get better access, if you want anything other than the free plays. But now there's a lot more type of content on X, Twitter.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because Elon's opened it up, or that's like the industry kind of peeking its head out and saying, hey, like I'm Matt from DeadPres. I want people to know I'm a real human behind here, and I'm awesome, and I have very smart things to say, and I'm very entertaining.
Right.
And I think you should, be a part of this community that I'm slowly but surely curating into something more massive than I could have ever dreamed.
Yeah. Well, to your point about kind of getting the goosebumps, I mean, it's the same way, for me talking about DubClub and DeadPres, though, because so many more states and just overall.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the current count of legalization?
I should know that, right?
I mean, I don't know. I think it's like 30 to 35 or FanDuel, DraftKings, and then the
there's some that have other like prize pit, like other like, but like as
TFS
far as
apps have a bit more leeway.
Yeah.
I saw PrizePicks is opening. I want to say Delaware and one other East Coast state soon.
Okay, that's
good.
good.
Came through the news recently.
But it's
crazy.
To your earlier point, though, it is like in our industry we should get goosebumps because I mean, think about, again, I'll go back 6 years because that's when our account started. Yeah. Like no, it was almost to your point earlier about not showing your face. Like it was almost like a controversial thing to be in. Like if I told people I worked as a, sports betting creator, right? Like where now I mean, look at major networks, right? They didn't lean into this 6-7 years ago. Now they are, right? Yeah. And that's because a lot of that is, some of it's becoming legal in more places. And I think that kind of, old look on gambling and how some people actually looked like down on people who were in that industry. I think that's gone away because at the end of the day, it's an entertainment industry first.
Yeah, it is. It's entertainment. So that's what betting is. Right. Betting is entertainment.
Yes. 100%. So I think now people are, starting to see that. And, it's super exciting for our industry because I think we're at the 1 yard line of a never ending football field.
That's right. Yeah, you score a touchdown and then the football field just expands.
This keeps going. Yeah.
It is really exciting. It feels like I take it to a baseball metaphor of like inning 1 or 2. Honestly.
Right. Oh yeah, it's very early.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, and you see the ads for Kevin Hart and LeBron are doing what sports book now? Is it FanDuel or MGM?
I think
Should probably know that.
one of them's FanDuel. I think Kevin Hart's FanDuel. I don't know, but but
it's like you see these guys and they're on these commercials, and then you see ESPN Bet showing up everywhere, pushing its stuff on its network, on the ESPN network, which is owned by Disney, which is a kids company. Like Walt Disney created Disney to be an entertainment factory for people who want to be, dazzled by these amazing amusement experiences, and now we have ESPN pushing a sports book on us.
It's changed a lot. Even like I forget, I think it was Bally Sportsbook or Bally Sportsbook. One of those, they just got bought out. So the network's FanDuel Sportsbook now, but like a lot of the games that you're watching, like NBA games, it's on FanDuel's like network. It's like what the network's called.
That's really cool and very smart. I can see
100%.
They're probably trying to
very
compete
smart
with ESPN
for
eyeballs and engagement.
But to our point earlier, like that wouldn't have happened 6 years ago, right? A game being on a channel of a sports book, like, so it's exciting, right? Because there's a lot more, I think, to come. But I don't think a lot of people realize how like early this industry is. But it's a good and exciting thing for us.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's no place that people should go other than DubClub. I mean, there's Airbnb for travel. There's, if you're trying to figure out, you're looking for a trip to go to Italy in Venice, right? You go to TripAdvisor. Like, look at detail. You can book everything from there. You can get reviews on restaurants. Like, we want to be that same place for people who are looking for sports betting advice and sports content, and really just being entertained by creators like yourself. That's the cool thing. When I've gotten to know you guys so much better throughout this process of starting the company, and I'm like constantly impressed. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of new creators signing up to be the CEO of their own DubClub every month, and I meet a lot of these people. It's just really awesome to see how genuine everyone is. And you've met, like, we just had Analytics Capper. Albert was in the office earlier, stopping by. I had the parlay plug out here last week. It's just amazing to see how genuine you guys are and how much interest you take in providing a really good experience for your members.
It is amazing, like how many talented cappers, right, are on the same place.
And that's the thing, is like capper is a term where it's like the traditional capper term. What does that mean to you 5 years ago versus now, what it looks like now, right?
It's a lot different because and that's kind of like what I was going back to. Like, I wouldn't necessarily consider myself like I'm probably more honestly of a, probably like a blend of the two, being a content creator and a capper. Like, I'm very confident in that's, I don't know the exact difference of it. I think we
started the company with the term capper as the people who are creating the content, which is really just plays to provide. But like the reality is, you're right. It's kind of blending. You're more than that. You guys, the reason why you have plays is why. Well, sports. You research the sports. You have a lot to say about them. Well, you don't relegate yourself to just a couple of numbers you send out on a piece of paper, for digitally via DubClub. But so what does being a content creator in 2024 or capper in 2024 mean to?
It's a lot different, right, than it was originally. I think a lot of it, honestly, is what you were saying earlier, like the faceless content, right? Like, that was how gambling Twitter was for the most part. When I first came in, and that's why I think it took some time, even with and I still know people who were a little shy to do that because they're like, well, but I think people are now becoming a lot more comfortable with it. And for our industry, I mean, for me, myself, it's created me a bunch of content opportunities. I've been a lead betting analyst for a company, OddsChecker US, for the last now over 3 years. That doesn't happen if I don't put my face out there, right? And give myself a chance. So I think some people can come, the trolls out there, Ryan, of the industry, they'll come at you if you're like a content creator and almost like use it as like a dig against you. But I mean, I look at it as a positive. I think the more successful people in this industry are really good at creating content and also marketing themselves. Like, I don't think that's something to look down on. I think that's actually
it's hustle.
Right. It's a strong attribute.
You don't look down on Steph Curry for going to the court 4 hours before a game to hustle and get his shots in.
Exactly. It's a good comparison, right?
He's doing his thing. He's trying to build his own build his own career.
That's what you're doing. It's
really what you're doing. So, it's interesting because the term capper stems from handicapper. 5-6 years ago, what does that term mean? Handicapper.
So I mean, I'm thinking like back to the original days. Like, I'm just thinking of just like a faceless account tweeting out plays. That's like just like a numbers, all like strictly bets.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
No
give an
entertainment.
example of like a post they make. Like
Just
what would
like
they
say it's an Eagles Cowboys game, right? Like Eagles -3, and that's like it. Like there's no like extra content to
else.
it. Right. Where now I think a lot of the content that you'll get a 30-second clip of why they like the Eagles, and there's going to be some cool edits in it. You know what I mean? It's just more engaging content. So you're right. The term has changed quite a bit over the last few years.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so excited about the evolution of this space because it just makes sense. It makes sense that people want more information than just you tell me what to bet on.
Yeah.
But it also makes sense that there's always going to be people like you that have information to provide other people, because if you just look at the numbers, 98% of people, 97 to 99%, really, so I average it, 98% of people lose money over time. So they start with $100 or whatever, and they end up with less than 100. Right. But someone like you starts with 100 and you make the most of that and you actually build off of that. And the idea is that the people who lose the money should be listening to someone like you. So there's always going to be a market for people to be telling others essentially what to do, or at least educating them on making less uninformed decisions, which at the end of the day means they'll win more together with you. It's the whole point.
That's the whole point of it. Right?
But, and people look down on that because I don't think they fully appreciate it. And what I tell people that tell you, or tell some of our partners, if someone tells you, hey, I think I could do this better than you, you tell them, all right, go open a DubClub.
Right. Try it. Yeah.
Try it out. Yeah. Try it out, because we validate, we know what's going on, and we know who's legitimate or who not. And the market determines. It's like its own little economy.
Right.
People that know you're good will stay subscribed to you. And if you're not good, then you can go subscribe to someone else. Like, it's fine.
Exactly.
It's an open market.
That's how it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So you talked a little about the start of your business being on Twitter, when you guys were building up those first, a couple hundred followers, now over 150,000, right? Like, I think it's really interesting for someone who has ambitions to start their own sports consulting business and be a capper in 2024, sports content creator. To hear from you, what were you doing to build up that following? What did that grind actually look like in the early days?
Well, those are like still my favorite days, honestly, of our business, because I'm sure it's similar to you with DubClub. Like, you look back on it and like there's
very endearing.
Right. But there's like early grind days where like they were just different, right? Because you had the vision and you were going to kind of do everything you could to try to get there. So, there was a couple different strategies that would be used. I think the biggest thing was, really trying to lean into then like collaborating with other cappers. Which is funny because, we were just talking about AC, who was just in here. Like, he was one of the original guys, but there's a bunch of guys that I'm still really close with now. And we were all kind of coming up during that like same period of time. So I think we just retweet each other, do collab plays, all those little things. And this over time, that was kind of how to grow. But like in my notes, I would kind of have like a target goal for each week and would just kind of like basically keep going until
goal.
Yeah. Until we could get there. And I mean, there was times where it would break way through, if one crazy play hits. I mean, that happens today. Like, we're at 199,000 followers right now on Twitter. And I've been looking at the last 6 days. I can't get to 200. And in my head, I'm like, I need to get to 200. So sometimes you put numbers in your head, you can drive yourself crazy. But I think if you're realistic with it and, make like a legitimate game plan, like, hey, we want to get to this amount by the end of this month. How can we do that? So that was a big thing, because it's at the end of the day, followers is what is going to, that's kind of how your account's going to go, right? Like, you could be a great capper, you could be really good, but you have to find a way to get people to like want to read your content, engage in your content. So, there's a few different strategies that I use, but even now, like, I still have goals that I put in my notes app. Like, that doesn't ever go away just because you hit a big number. It's, I guess, less, I don't want to say less important, but you don't need to hit the numbers the way maybe you used to, but that, feeling never ends of trying to hit that goal.
Would that be a top piece of advice you'd offer someone who's starting out, is like set goals for yourself?
100%. Yeah. I think, even now there's goals. I mean, whether it's subscriptions, followers, clicks on my articles, like I'm crazy with everything with that. Sometimes maybe a little bit too, sometimes I think I overthink it too much at times, but I don't think you can ever really stop with the goals, no matter how big or small your account is. A goal's a goal. So 100%.
Do you know who Aristotle was, the
I've
philosopher?
heard the name, but I'm not very good in that subject. So.
No, you don't need to be. He has a famous quote that I love, which is, "Man is a goal-seeking animal." And man or woman,
Right.
but like their life only has meaning if they are reaching out and striving to achieve their goals. And it's kind of true.
It's very accurate
in a sense. Like you have to have purpose, and that drives you. And I think that's why athletes are so impressive.
It's competitiveness, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah, and it's a lot of it's intrinsic because you said it.
Right.
You put the goal in your notes app.
Yep.
And you're a new content creator and you're starting out and you're like, look, I have 0 followers. Okay, I just created the page. I want to get to 100.
Right.
And now I want to get to 100, and so you're going to do everything in your power to work backwards from 100. We do the same thing at DubClub.
Yep.
Lewis and I, Lewis.
Yeah.
Lewis and I meet. We set goals. Here's how many people we want to help make this much money. Right. We actually measure the success of the company based off of the number of sports content creators, creator CEOs on DubClub who are making money every week.
Okay.
And that number keeps going up and to the right. But it's like that is gold to us. That's our North Star. Yep. And we have goals as to like where we want to go, and we're working backwards from how we make that happen.
For sure, yeah.
But I think everyone's a goal-seeking animal at heart. You just kind of have to bring it out of yourself.
Right, yeah. And I think that's also kind of what separates, really successful people, right, in the industry is like, to your point about bringing it out of yourself, like you gotta keep pushing it, right? Until
and it's hard.
It. Yeah,
it's hard.
It is.
But I think that's also, don't you think that's part of what makes the journey constantly rewarding, right? Like you no matter what, you're always going to have a number of social followers or subscribers or earnings for your business that could be higher.
100%. Yeah. It's
what
I go through every day. Yeah.
Yep. And now, right now it's 200,000.
Right. Yeah.
But hopefully by this time this airs, that'd
be good.
You're
right?
over that. Hit the number. Call all my family members and tell them to get on Twitter.
The flowers. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Matt. This has been a good segment. I want to touch back on when we talked a little bit about the concept of sports media, and then we talked about goals. Yep. I'm kind of curious, like for the relatability to others out there that are sort of thinking about getting into this industry and who are probably like betting on sports quite often.
Right.
Was there a separation, you think, from the activity of betting on sports that you started doing more regularly in college with your buddies? From your desire to be in sports media? Like how have the two combined to create this passion that you have?
Right. Yeah. So I guess I have to kind of date back on that. Like, because my first love was just sports in general, right? Like it was just playing. I'm sure, we're very similar in that aspect. And a lot of people watching.
What were your sports?
So,
sports and positions and, personal records. Let's get into
well, in the fall, I'd play football, right? I played running back and safety growing up. And then winter, I played basketball. I was play point guard, and then baseball. When I was younger, I played shortstop. As I got older, my arm wasn't strong enough. So like high school and college, I played second base. And then I ran track and field in the spring as well. So
wow, you were 4 sports.
Yeah, growing up, that was And then in high school, I played golf, which in the fall, because I only played football freshman year of high school, so I replaced it with golf.
Golf. Yeah.
That was too small to play.
Yeah. Less contact.
Yes. Yeah. A little bit easier. And then, my whole life was like just sports, like growing up and even
non-stop.
Watching.
You didn't even have an off season.
Yeah. And I loved it. I mean, it was like and that was kind of, still I'm like obsessed with just sports in general. Like even even if I didn't gamble on these games, I'd be watching them and have, passion for them.
Yep.
I think gambling helped it a lot, kind of heighten the mood and there's a way to make money from this now. So, but it wasn't just playing, I was just going home, would watch Sports Nation, Around the Horn, PT. I had the same routine every single day, like from when I was a kid watching my sports, and then I would watch the 6 o'clock Sports Center, and then it would be the games at night. So, it was just kind of like the way, and I still get fired up, talking about sports and just have always just had a passion for it.
Yeah, that is awesome. And what that led to was then you and your buddies starting DeadPres, hustling, and getting that first sale, which was John Daly, not the golfer.
Not the golfer.
Not the golfer, allegedly.
To my knowledge, yeah.
Yeah. So talk about how that felt when you had that first transaction take place, and specifically, how did the transaction go down? Like, how did he actually pay you guys?
Yeah. So, to answer the first question, it was one of the best feelings, because like we were talking about earlier, it's just, you see the first dollar go through and you're like, maybe I could do this. So it just gives you like hope almost.
Yep.
And, a little bit more confidence in yourself and what you're doing. And then it was back in, I mean, we used to just do transactions as Venmo, and it was like we would do everything through DMs. This was pre-DubClub, which maybe we'll get into later, like kind of why we initially wanted to join DubClub, was we needed some help with the tech side, right? So I mean, it was just the old school, like, hey, you want to join our VIP? So what we used to do to date way back, right, on it was every time someone would follow us, we would copy and paste a DM just being like, hey, are you interested in joining our VIP? So like legitimately, because back then it wasn't that many followers a day. So it was pretty easy to track. You know what I mean? It was 20 followers a day.
Yep.
And he was just one of the people who responded. So, and that was kind of just how the sale went down. And from there, we just kept going.
Did you describe what it meant to join VIP, or you literally just DM'd, hey, do you want to join our VIP?
I probably should have had a better message crafted up. It was just,
hey, you live and you learn, right?
Yeah,
you got one conversion on
you got one
20
conversion
messages
on
a day. So you guys
yeah.
clearly iterated on the marketing
right, exactly
message.
So no, we didn't really explain it that well. I think it was more just we were just trying to see if people would actually join and buy in, but probably could have crafted up that message better.
Yeah, I mean, that is awesome though, to think that the start of the business was from you just, again, grinding and copying and pasting it. Hey, would you like to join? Hey, would you like to join?
It's like going door to door, basically.
Literally,
right?
like that is like door to door sales.
Right.
But digitally, so it's a lot more scalable.
Right. Yes.
Until you run into the issue that you guys had, which is if you get enough people paying you and you're managing it through a spreadsheet, you come answering my calls at that point. I remember our first call, you and me. I stepped out. I was at business school at the time.
Okay.
And obviously this was, my priority, which I'm happy to admit. I was starting this company.
Right.
It was we were helping people make a living in some instances, guys like you and guys and girls like you, and then we were helping them make a lot of people a lot of money and better decisions.
Right.
So I stepped out of class. I remember talking to you, and we went for like an hour and a half.
It was a long conversation.
It was a good conversation. I was like, all right, I think we can solve your problem.
Right.
And I don't know, have we solved your problem? The early one?
Yeah, it's been more than we could ask. Yeah, but it's funny because like that's what all it was then. But now, as I'm sure again we'll get into a little bit more, but just to see now what DubClub's become versus what it was when you were in business school and I was in college
3 years ago.
Right. Yeah. Just kind of talking it through and just being like, hey, this sounds like a good idea. And I went to Nick, we talked about it, and we were like, hey, you know what, let's give it a try. So it couldn't have gone better, but yeah, the initial reasoning was we didn't have any, tech support, and we were trying to track all these subscriptions. And, obviously since then there's more to DubClub than just tracking sales, but,
right. We'll get into it. We'll get into it. This isn't a podcast to toot our own horn.
Right.
So it's more just kind of like educating folks who are listening on the problems that you were having that led to you wanting to start a business on DubClub, or at least migrate a lot of your business, which took a while. I mean, when you got to the point where it was like too tough to manage, from that first subscriber, John Daly, to N number of subscribers, like how many were you managing where it just got overwhelming?
It was, at times it was, thousands of subscribers, right?
Yeah. Because, and it's insane you call it subscribers, because how were you guys managing the renewal?
It was DMing and just hoping people would get back. And if they didn't answer for a long enough time, we'd, make them unfollow, like block them and then unblock them so they unfollowed the VIP.
Oh.
It didn't work that well though, right? Because most people were getting by for a month without having to pay. I mean, again, we're in college, remind you know what I mean? Like this isn't like we were just sitting at home all day doing this. So yeah, we were probably losing out on a lot of money, but fortunately, that was when we were able to partner and be like, hey, look, now our subscriptions can be tracked. This could be a whole system. We don't have to lift a finger, right? This is going to all be done, basically for us. And the conversion took a little bit of time. I think it was also new then, right? Like people didn't really understand what DubClub was then. Now
that was like our third or fourth month in business.
Exactly. So yeah, very early on. And obviously now, most people understand what it is and kind of the platform. So it's much, easier now to be like, hey, sign up for DubClub than it was, back then. But yeah, it's been a great journey together.
Yeah. The interesting thing for us that I'm going to continue to kind of pound the table on is that it's your DubClub, right? Like DubClub is the technology partner, but we're the product that empowers you guys to do what you do, which is disseminate the information to your network, right? People that come in, and then we're sending you people from the DubClub network, which is constantly growing as we go. So that's why, the mission of the company is help more people win more together. And people hear me say this all the time, but it is a nice mutual partnership, and it's your DubClub, and there's going to be more coming out in the very near future and forever and evermore, where you're going to constantly feel like, hey, I can really make this look and feel like me.
Right.
And that's important.
It is.
that's part of the whole content evolution we've talked about with Twitter, I think, which is the personalization. People want to get to know you, like more than just your plays. It's like really who you are.
Exactly.
And I think that's very important.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. I think that makes people feel, that more like personalized feel, right? Like they can actually trust you with what you're saying. And yeah, it's good in building the community that, you kind of get to know your clients and your followers, which I think is awesome. And yeah, there's been a lot of positives, right? Since we've done this.
Yeah. So Matt, I'll ask you before we get into more of the business and like your product, which is the content you provide, the advice you provide. Talk to me about the parts of growing DeadPres that have been the most challenging for you.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of there's multiple, I think, to go through. I think the one thing right now, and maybe over the last couple of years, is how competitive the industry has become, which I think is a good thing, by the way. Like I think, like anything else, if you want to be at the top, you have to, kind of compete with, and I don't look at it as competing, especially with, I swap, retweets and interact with probably 12 to 14 people who are on DubClub per day, like accounts who have had a lot of success. And, we've kind of DM'd on the side and like, hey, let's work together, right? Like kind of to your point about win more together, but it really is, us trying to feed off of each other. So, but at the end of the day, it's still a very, very competitive business now compared to what it was years ago. So at times, even though we were much smaller years ago, it was at times easier to have subscriptions because there was less competition. Now everywhere you look, there's like, this capper just popped up. It's almost every day, right? Someone else kind of blows up in the industry.
Yeah. And when you say competitive, it's hard to differentiate yourself from someone else that's also providing a somewhat similar product to a somewhat similar market, right? And,
for sure. Yeah, that's what makes it challenging. And I would also say like there, especially in DubClub, because there's hundreds of really good, cappers and people in communities. So, it's honestly, I don't think you can really go wrong. Like I would never try to, swing someone away from a certain capper to join. It's just the reality of the situation, right? It's just a competitive business. And
that puts the onus on us to help you guys continue to differentiate, right? Because there's a reason to subscribe to every person.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think it's something that I've personally noticed. Someone's on my subscription, they're also on this person, you know what I mean? And that's good, right? Because they're feeding off, because there's some cappers out there who, they do props mainly, right? Or they do prize picks, or there's all these different markets where you can kind of take this from this one and this from this one. So sports wise, right? There's cappers out there who do the, KBO all season and like sports that maybe not everybody does. And so there's a lot of different value in, kind of using multiple cappers. Another challenging thing I'd say too, is just the simple fact of like, it's a make or miss league almost, where if you're losing, that's the most challenging thing I think any handicapper would say or content creator would say. Kind of how to deal with the reality also of losing, right? And this is something, years ago when I first started, I struggled with a lot more than I do now. And it's just because over time you realize it's inevitable, right? There's 365 days in a year. You're going to lose a lot, like hundreds of them, right? Over 100, I think. I don't know the math on 265 and 100, but I feel like that's a good win percentage. So you're going to lose a lot of days is the bottom line. And I think over time you kind of realize that, and you just, learn to deal with it and tell people, hey, look, overall we're winning, but sometimes that's not enough, because sometimes that person just joined your DubClub 2 days ago and they're actually down. So you also have, you have to understand that too. I think sometimes people take it out of context and take it too personally. They're not necessarily blaming you. It's just the timing. And that's why there's constant pressure in a way to be good, right? And make sure you're doing your research. And, but yeah, it's a lot of pressure, I think, that you could put on yourself, because you want people who are believing in you, subscribing to you. You want them to be successful, right? So that comes with it. And that's something that's certainly challenging to deal with when, the losing days happen, right? They're just part of the game. So you just gotta own them and, hope it helps make them better gamblers.
What do you do when you are losing? What tools do you have to continue to engage and interact with your followers and also your customers on DubClub and keep them excited and happy?
I think a lot of times it's just being honestly, just calling like a spade, like, hey guys, listen, this happens, right? Like, I think the worst thing to do is dance around it, try to avoid it or
make excuses.
Right, make excuses. right? Being like, oh, this bet should have, well, it didn't win, right? Like, it doesn't really matter if
it's black and white.
Right. Yeah, I've won 100 bets I shouldn't have won. I've lost 100 bets I should have won, right?
Yeah.
So that's a reality situation. So I think it's just important to be authentic and just be like, listen, guys, this is going to happen. Long term, we're going to win, but sometimes that's not enough for people, right? Like, and honestly, I think that's fair at times. Like, if someone joins me during a week and, it's not a good week and they unsubscribe, I understand why. Like, I'm not going to take that personally, right? But my hope is that they continue to follow, see that I'm, over time win, and then they resubscribe. And that's happened numerous times, right? Where people hop in and out. But like this year, for example, we've had one losing month, which is actually in this 6-year span, our most successful year.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It's been a really good year, but that doesn't mean that, November can't come out and, be a losing month, or December. And that's
law of averages,
right, exactly.
There's a decent chance, but like you'll still be up for the year. And if you lose in November, that's actually one of the better times for someone to join, honestly.
Right, exactly. That's what I always try to say, right? Sometimes the best month to join is after that losing month.
Buying a stock low.
It's the same thing.
So buy Amazon at its 52-week high.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You want to time that up correctly. But that's it. I'd say most people would say that's the most challenging thing. But I think you just kind of have to learn to make your, losses lessons, basically, right? Like, learn from it, improve on it, and keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Iterate, right? Like, learn why. Do you, one of the things that I heard from the Parlay Plug last week was that he holds himself like to a pretty high standard with respect to the plays that he gives out, and he has a team around him. So he's not hyper analyzing every team member in terms of the plays that they're providing and the results, and going to them and saying, hey, Matt, why did you do this and that? Right. But he's doing it for himself. So the plays that he loses, he actually goes back and he studies, why did this happen? What did I do wrong? What trends am I seeing? How can I adjust and iterate? And it sounds like you have a similar mindset. And I would chalk that up generally to just a learning mentality, like treating the world as your classroom. For sure. And I think that's a really powerful entrepreneurial trait, honestly.
Oh, it is.
Like, the faster you can learn, the faster you can get ahead of the competition.
Right, exactly. And I think that's something that, again, I struggled with early, was kind of that learning process, right? Like finding a way to make it a positive, learn from it. But now, even after a losing day, I will completely disconnect from sports for the night.
It's just,
that's fine. We'll put on a movie, me and my fiance will watch a movie, like whatever you want to watch, like just something to get away, because, mentally, not only are you working on it, all day, right, in the industry, then you're watching the games. And if the results don't follow, mentally, sometimes it's going to be like, I need a day, right? I need a minute. 100%. Like, so that's just part of it. So yeah, I think to your point about Parlay Plug, that's a great method. But I think that's what makes people so great on like, everyone kind of has their own thing.
They have their own thing.
But it's whatever works for you. But as long as you're learning from it and not just kind of being like, oh, whatever, like keep going, then I think it's positive.
Yeah. So it sounds like different ways to cope when your product quality, the plays for the time being are somewhat suppressed. And it's hard to make an analogy for this, but it's like for whatever reason, a retail store, the product that people are coming in buying, like for a very temporary period of time, there's like a scratch on it, right? But like that product can be redeemed and refunded at any point in time for a higher quality thing. That's kind of like every week, like, yeah, you may have a bad week, but the next week you're going to come back. And that's the whole point of the subscription. 100%. Just stay and reap the positives that will come with it. A couple ways you mitigate that from being kind of bad or rough on you mentally is obviously like just being honest, staying positive and learning, maintaining momentum. And then it sounds like disconnecting a bit, watching a movie. Not to put you on the spot in terms of movie preferences, but are you guys, you and your fiance, are you like a rom-com type of couple?
She probably is. I love thrillers. That's like all I watch.
Whoa. Okay.
Big thriller movie, mystery kind of guy.
Yeah. Give me your thriller list. Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. However you want to rattle off in terms of ones that you've. I can throw some out and see if you.
I'll say Gone Girl. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Gone Girl, Ben Affleck. Yeah, it's a really good thriller.
Oh, Ben Affleck.
I think
I've seen parts of it.
Yeah, that's one of them. Shutter Island. You ever see that?
Yes, I have.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was young. I was in high school when I watched Shutter Island.
Okay.
It messed with me for like months.
Yeah. Thrillers mess you up.
Yeah, thrillers get you. So that was another one. This is probably not the best to admit, but have you ever watched Lifetime movies? they're like super cheesy thrillers, but I will watch them after that's my bad
Like
day.
the
Like,
really low budget zombie
yes, that's
movies.
exactly there's like 20 of them a week.
Yeah, my
But
parents eat those up.
yep,
Yes.
I am with your
Yeah.
parents. I eat those
Yeah.
up
I
as
don't know
well.
if so Lifetime or like I think Amazon Prime movies are just like
That's like my go-to. Like, that's my disconnect. Like, I'll just, like, it's gonna happen the whole movie, but it's
Yeah.
like, you know what? At least it's kind of entertaining.
it's
So
oddly comforting.
right, it is. It actually
Yeah.
is. So
I like it.
and yeah, and then a lot of like classics. Like, I guess these aren't thrillers, but I like all the Godfather. Well, until 1 and 2, those are up there for me. Like Bronx Tale. There's like classic old like mafia kind of movies. I always grew up watching them, so they're at the top of my list. I guess they're not technically thrillers, but
Yeah.
it's a lot of good ones.
Philly Mafia.
Yes. Get to Delco.
Yeah. No, that is it's good to know that you're able to disconnect and kind of
Yeah.
get away from it and not,
Which is important, right? Like I'm even for with your any job, right? It's not just like
it's really hard to do.
it is. It's very hard. Especially I think it's even harder when you're super passionate about it.
That's right.
Because you're obsessed with your craft, right? Like you don't want to get away from it, but sometimes you have to. And it's, sometimes for the better. Even when you're successful, right? And things are going really well. I think it's important even then to try to disconnect just because, you need it, right? You just need to give yourself some time, and I think it makes you better.
100%. Yeah, for me, a trick that I found was plane rides.
Oh,
Like travel. And I know you
once a
flew out
month.
here, but just because like you have to physically pay, like, well, first of all, you have to pay for Wi-Fi in order to be on the internet. And then it's just like an extra hurdle.
Yeah.
So when I'm on a plane, I'm kind of like, okay, this is an excuse for me to maybe think about something else or read or watch a couple of movies on the plane. Like that's my excuse to like not
right.
feel like I have
Do
to work
anything.
24/7.
It's a good one. I have been on planes where, like, admittedly, I buy Wi-Fi on every flight, but I've been on them
Just in
where,
case, right?
Yeah, just in case. But if something doesn't, if it doesn't work, because sometimes that happens, you're right. It does it just forces you to think to yourself, and kind of it's calming at times, right? Just
Yeah. In a weird way,
hanging out.
like, especially if you like, are you a window or aisle or no one's a
Preferably-
middle seat
no,
sitter.
nobody's.
I hope.
I like the aisle just because if I have to use the restroom during the
Restroom,
flight,
yeah. You don't have to bother anyone.
Right, exactly.
I'm the same.
Scoot right out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same. Yeah, so like airplanes, I used to fly more often back and forth to our Chicago office. I'm
Yes.
more solidly here now because we have the San Francisco HQ set up. But when I was flying out to Chicago, the United Chicago flight is like from SFO is notorious for not having Wi-Fi. So that was my chance
There's a
always.
chance.
I was like, oh, the Wi-Fi is just not working.
Yeah,
So
can't
I'm
do anything
going
about
to
it.
find something else to do for the time that I'm on
Watch
this
a couple of
flight.
movies.
Exactly. And then, Dash,
Right, yeah.
our third co-founder, same thing when he was flying out because he was here in the Bay Area with me for a couple of
Right.
years to start the company. When he was flying out to Chicago,
Yeah.
he would set his Slack status as like, there is a good chance I don't have Wi-Fi.
Love that, yeah.
And people would know, all right, he's probably not.
That's the way to
gonna
do it.
respond.
Yeah.
At least you let everyone know, and
Right.
then you mentally accept it. And
Exactly.
You go on your way.
Take your time.
So, all right, I want to get into a comment you made around the differentiation and how it's been harder and harder in this industry to differentiate yourself.
Right.
Talk to me about how you would present DeadPresPicks on a shelf with, call it 10 other sports content creators on DubClub.
Okay.
How does DeadPresPicks differ than them, and why would someone subscribe to you?
Well, I think one thing is the the diversity that we have in terms of sports. Like a lot of international sports that kind of stemmed from that COVID period, which is also when our account went from 0 to 100 really in terms of followers.
Yeah.
Heavy reason was KBO, table tennis, CBA, like all these random sports. Table tennis got ditched because there was a whole investigation into how they were being thrown and all the games were being fixed. So we benched that one. But the CBA, which is the Chinese Basketball League, and KBO, which is the
I
Korean
didn't
Baseball
realize
League.
the CB. That's wow. Okay.
Yes, and CBA is actually really competitive. Like there's a lot of ex NBA, like Jimmer Fredette was in that league, Jeremy Lin. There's a lot of really, like if you're up, at 3 a.m. betting on the game, I'm not recommending that. But if you ever caught yourself up at 3 a.m. and you want to, it's actually like good quality basketball.
Oh, I'm sure.
So it's something that during COVID, these leagues, when they were on, because I didn't have a sleep schedule during COVID. I know a lot of
There's
people.
no way the CBA was playing during COVID,
Not
were
CBA,
they?
it was KBL.
Okay,
So
okay.
KBL was
Yeah.
the one that played, and there was another league. I can't think of the name of the league, but it was the Taiwan. What the heck was their name? Dinos was their name too. So there was the NC Dinos and KBO, and
What markets are letting you bet on that?
there was Gosh, I don't even know what I was using then. But the league was.
But you can find a way. Like, do you recommend to your subscribers, just to kind of get on this differentiation point? Because this is important. It's like people are looking for interesting things to bet on.
Right.
That's a differentiator because you guys have a broad swath of, like, honestly random ass sports
That's
that are probably very interesting, and you can probably make a lot of money.
Right.
Do you give them recommendations on how they can bet on those? Like, how would I in California, right? I mean, is that even possible?
Yes. Yeah. So sports books that offer them for sure. Yeah. Because to your point, not every state's legal. So sometimes you might have to look for, an offshore broker, something else where you can get that option. But yeah, I think it's important with the kind of the different leagues, to your point about, like, people also enjoy putting in a bet and trying to wake up to a winner. Like, it's just the reality, right? Like, I don't think most people watch these games at 4 or 5 a.m. Maybe they do. I don't know. But it's fun waking up.
Isn't there a term for that?
There is. There's a term for that. But the degenerate kind of gambling.
Oh, well, the waking cash.
Oh, waking cash.
Okay. But yes, also the degenerate. Yeah.
But yeah, the waking cash. We do the lunch money plays. So that was kind of really, again, kind of dating back. Like, that was our first. Again, when you're talking about differentiating yourself in the market, sometimes it's like keywords like that. Like, so the plays that we used to do, it was as simple as like lunch money plays, and people would really affiliate that with our brand. To the point, I remember like another capper was like tweeting like something of lunch money, and people were like tagging me, like, don't let, and I'm like, I don't, own this. I didn't coin the term lunch money, right?
Trademark it.
Right, exactly. That'll be a tough one to trademark, but
win more together a little bit.
Win more together a little bit, yeah. But again, like, it is kind of like that, like a slogan, right? Like, it's just something to stay on. And it's even as simple sometimes as like the way you format a tweet. Yeah. Like, you just want to be like, you have to pick up like little advantages, I think, to just have, because again, there's so many people that are really talented and another thing is also learning from them. Like, there's so many cappers on DubClub who I've, really respect and have worked with, and they'll, say, hey, this works for me. I'll say, hey, this works for me. And just using that kind of off each other, in different marketings, different social medias, all that stuff. So, yeah.
So when you said collaborate, early on in the podcast regarding building up your brand, that was more of like trading, reshare, retweets.
Yeah, shout outs, all that stuff.
Like basically sharing in the awareness of each of your followings.
Right.
But when you say collaborate now in the business sense, it's like you guys talking about different ways that you can differentiate and grow and provide better offering, keep people around, find new people.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's people I talk to every week, Tommy and John, I'm very close with those guys. I'll talk, especially Tommy, because he has a lot more experience than me, right?
Yeah.
And same with
He also got a lot of ideas. Yeah. Tommy's the guy when I'm like, I need an idea. Tommy G.
Call Tommy.
You call
Tommy's
Tommy.
Got a guy for everything.
Yeah. Tommy and I have been doing voice notes recently, which you picked up on.
Yeah. You got me into that too.
It's fun. It's like, hey, you guys got an idea, send it over. It's way more, but it's like, I'll answer, sometimes I get back to Tommy like 18, 24 hours later.
Well, that's the thing, but you still get your points across.
Exactly.
You don't have to go back and forth all day. Yeah. But no, it is like, I'll pick, their brains on stuff, and there's a bunch of other guys on the platform. RB, I talk with every day, Zeke and all the like guys who I really, and also I really respect what they do. Like, I know they're building great companies, great communities. So yeah, it's been really important to kind of learn off them and work together.
Yeah. And it's really cool because you've met a couple of these guys, well, a lot of them in person.
Yeah.
Like we did the golf thing over the summer. Yep. We met Hammering Hank came after Greek Locks.
Greek Locks, yep.
Yeah, that was really cool.
That was an awesome day,
Yeah, I can't remember who won it. I think he beat us in golf.
Yeah, he was a good golfer.
Yeah, he's a good golfer.
He had the upper hand.
Yeah, he's probably better now. He's still playing a lot.
Rolling, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna get a little bit further on in this differentiation topic because I think you're a humble guy. We were talking about this earlier. There's a couple points I want to hit that are really important regarding the business that you've built and some of the ways that you actually physically differentiate. The first point is just kind of scale wise, like talk about, your goal seeking, talk about some of the milestones that you've hit recently or in the past on DubClub as it pertains to your business.
For sure. Yeah. Well, we just hit a big one recently. So that one was really special. And, again, going back to the goals part, like I've had that one in my mind for a long time. So, when we first joined, it took a little bit longer to get transitions. And then there was a period where, it was going back and forth, not, fully doing a VIP, was doing a lot of free. And now over the last year, I've been really able to like lock in to DubClub, buy into everything that's been offered, and really do that. So the milestones, that's a huge thing, right? Because I mean, in any job, in any industry, like everyone has again that goal, and when you actually hit that number, kind of make you feel like all that work is worth it, and it also motivates you to get to that next goal, right? I think that's another thing that's really important is like it's like winning the World Series, like you celebrate it for like a minute and then you're right back to work, right? So that's kind of my mindset on it. But yeah, I mean, there's there's so many things that, yeah, the milestones, it really fires me up, and I'm sure it fires up most people on the platform. And, but yeah, there's a lot going back to your different, like,
This is you being modest. I know you may not want to share this specific, but this is like, you know, 6 figures plus milestones of business building where it's like this is a legitimate, like larger than small business in the sense of small business.
right.
So, you know, you built something very special.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. But again, that couldn't be done without DubClub, right? Like this wasn't there pre DubClub.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah,
that's
I
why,
appreciate that. And that makes us feel like, hey, this is all very worth it.
right? Exactly. And it's, but again, going back to an earlier point about the partnership, that's really what it is. Like we're, you know, DeadPres is helping DubClub's helping. It's really that simple. So it's not that complicated.
When we're together.
Yeah, when we're together. Yeah, just got the new shirt.
And there's some personal gain, obviously, from this. I know maybe not totally related, but like getting married in a month and weddings are not inexpensive, and then probably hopefully going on a honeymoon.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Right. Like
Hawaii. We're going to Hawaii.
Yeah, and you're 27.
26. Just turned 26.
Yeah, and like I mean and you have a house.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, you've got a lot of stuff you've had to fix with the house. You know, business owner, 26, getting married, have a house. You know, those are non-common things, and I think a lot of people overlook how special it is to be in that position.
Mm-hmm. I really appreciate that. But again, it's all like, and it's also something I like love to do, right? Like it's kind of a dream job. So for me, it's
true.
It's really felt like I've never had to work. I mean, I know it's a lot of work, but like I wake up, it's the same thing I'm sure with that. Like I wake up every day and I'm so fired up about DeadPres and just how to get a little bit better today. I'm sure you're the same way. Like you wake up every day and you're excited about DubClub.
Small improvements turn into
really what it is.
Big leaps.
1% better every day, right? That's what you got to do. So, but yeah, it's been amazing. And I also think like that's why, you know, I'm trying to continue every day to work so hard is I appreciate everyone for giving the opportunity to have those accomplishments, right? Like without all of our followers, subscribers, you know, DubClub, even, you know, people from OddChecker within the, like anyone who's ever kind of given me a chance, right? Like that's more a testament to them, and then just, you know, working hard from there. So it's been fun.
One thing you didn't mention, the differentiator, is performance. But you just said you guys are 9 out of 10 profitable months this year. How come that didn't come up in the differentiation?
Right. Well, honestly, I think there's enough cappers out there, honestly, like genuinely who do win.
That are good, yeah.
Right. So I don't know if you should definitely obviously use that to your credit, right? It's a big accomplishment to win that many months, but sometimes I really don't think winning solely is enough.
That's interesting. So you almost see on DubClub at least, right? Because that's, you know, we have like call it 1,500 to 2,000 roughly sports content creator CEOs that are running their DubClub. There's 40 million people that bet every week, right? So technically, I mean that balance, right? 2,000 out of 40 million is less than 1%, right? Which almost kind of like suggests that these people who are commanding an audience are winners, right? And we're going to come out with ways to actually validate that, or at least like more so than what we're doing already. Yeah. So what you're saying is like if someone's selling on DubClub, they're most likely winning more often than they're losing. And so to you, it's actually more than just being able to say that I'm winning regularly. You have to differentiate your business from others in terms of the actual product that's being offered.
100%. There's too many people who are good, right, at it at this point. So like you can't just be, hey, I win a lot and like that just join me for that. I think you have to be able to build a community. I think you have to be able to market. I think you have to be able to, you know, make your followers feel like there's a connection, giveaways, like all these different things involved as well. So
kind of sounds like you need to know how to be a pretty good business owner.
Exactly.
Or a CEO.
That's kind of the reality situation. There's accounts on, you know, Twitter, Instagram, all social medias who win a lot, but maybe they're not, you know, in the same place, but that's not because they're not a great, you know, handicapper and sports better. It might be because they're not great at marketing and, you know, actually showing off what they're doing. So
and my question for you is then why and this is what the Parlay Plug has done in a lot of our partners, you know, for you, why not take one of those people who are quite good at what they do and say, hey, do you want to come publish, you know, contribute to my DubClub? Do you want to publish for me, right? And like provide product to my subscribers. If you follow them and you know that they're winning,
that's a fair question.
Bring them in as a team member.
Right. Yeah. I think the biggest thing, I guess, with that is like Nick and I just have always worked so well together. And sometimes it's like the risk of, you know, switching that up. But
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly, kind of thing. And but I definitely think there, you know, that's something I wouldn't be surprised if like down the road, because DeadPres has become more than just us now. It's like a full business, right? So we're going to need more support, maybe not necessarily in the picks area, but on other things, right? As the business grows. So that's definitely something that, will probably be in the plans long term.
Yeah, stay tuned. We'll have we'll sort of anticipate that for you as we are for others who are kind of standing those things up. Sales affiliates, for instance, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. We'll have more for you guys in the product. But the reason I asked that is because I think one of the few key jobs of a CEO is to always be recruiting. I was actually listening to a podcast by the Airbnb CEO. His name is Brian Chesky.
Okay.
And he talks about that. He's like, you always want to be recruiting and you always want to be evaluating if people can come in and up-level the offering that you provide to your customers. We're the same way. Right. And it's interesting because you are providing advice to your subscribers as your product. And there's all these people out there on social media that are creating content around this advice, but don't know how to market themselves. And so maybe don't have what it takes really to like run their own business, but could fold in as an employee of yours as part of your content offering. Right. And I know it sounds like you guys don't maybe need as much help in that area because the product's really good. You probably need more help like articulating it and marketing it and selling and reaching a larger audience more generally. Yeah.
But it's a great point. I mean, I definitely think there's value out there because that's just a fact, right? There's a lot of really good accounts that maybe haven't blown up yet, but that's nothing to do with the results, right? It's more to do with just how do you market, right? How do you go after it? And it's not easy, right? That if it was easy, everyone would have hundreds and thousands of followers. You got to kind of get your flow down. It takes time. You got to try things out, but it's definitely a good point, that you raise.
If it were easy, you'd have 200,000.
I would.
Right now. Not 199K.
Yeah.
Hopefully we have 200,000 by the time.
I know. We need it, right?
Yeah. We'll broadcast that out to the world.
Yes.
All right, Matt. So we're gonna wrap up with a little session that I want to get through, which is like biggest winners, biggest losers in the history of DeadPresPicks, because I know there's probably a lot. And you weren't overly. You're just being humble. I think like 9 out of 10 profit months is insane. But looking back at say the history of DeadPres, what's the biggest ticket you've hit?
Okay, so there's two that come top of mind, right? So the one during the baseball season was baseball season. We're doing a ton of the home run lotto parlays. It's the summer, right? Dog days of betting.
Yeah,
people want these.
Make it fun.
Make it fun, right? So it was a 3-man home run parlay, right? Okay, and it was $50 won 14,000. Okay,
Whoa.
50 to win 14. And this is just like most of these times I put 25, 50 on these because they're like super long shot plays. And for me, that's my either 0.25 unit or 50, or if I do a half unit, it's $50, right? Yeah.
Who was on the legs?
So it was, the first leg was Gleyber Torres and Freddie Freeman. So what happened was I'll never forget the day because it was Legacy Day. There you go. But I went for a run and I come back and your Twitter you could always tell you win plays when you're either losing or winning your plays because you have 20 notifications. So something's either going really good or really bad.
Either eating you up, or eating you up.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But I'm getting notifications. Freddie and Gleyber. So they both played day games. It was a Thursday. Okay. They both played day games and they both hit home runs within like 10 minutes of each other. And Gleyber's odds were insane. That's what really made the parlay. And Freeman had long odds too, because he didn't hit a ton, if you remember, this year during the season of home runs in the World Series. He obviously found his groove. But anyway, so they both hit home runs. So now the whole thing is down to Manny Machado. Okay, so the entire parlay, if this hits, and it also won for VIP 43 units. And my scale is 0.5 to 2 units. So we do a very low scale. Like we're very realistic. I don't like the 10 unit max. I just try to keep, this is how we do it. However other people do it works. Yeah. But anyway, so we're going down and I was driving down, my family we have like a beach house in Ocean City, New Jersey. I'm driving down there and I'm watching, just playing on the card, Manny Machado home run highlights. Like it's all I'm watching for. I'm like, I'm going to breathe it into existence. I'm going to watch this into existence. And I wasn't even watching the game. We went out to get pizza and I went into the bathroom because I wanted to see I wanted to go
peek.
Right into the Twitter notifications, and I had to have a million notifications at night. So that was huge. And then just last week, we hit a 5-leg. It was National Tight End Day. So it was actually me, RBS, and Ace Picks, all DubClub guys.
Awesome.
We hit a 5-man, and it all came down to George Kittle, and that payout was also Yeah, that was going. That payout that was 50 to win 13, and it came down to George Kittle. He scores a touchdown. They call a flag, but they upheld it.
Yeah, I
Got
remember
lucky.
that.
Got
Yeah.
very lucky. So,
That was awesome. National Tight End Day. A lot of
a
great
lot of
plays
tickets.
made. A lot of tickets.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even know that was a thing, but it's funny because I guess George Kittle like
He
founded
just made it a thing. Yeah.
He just made it
It
up.
was a couple years ago. Yeah.
And it's fitting that he's the one
He
that
ended
cashed
it,
the ticket.
right?
Yeah.
And I didn't think I was. You know how it is when it comes down to the last leg. You're thinking all worst case.
Oh yeah.
And
Like, Kittle's gonna get hurt in the
right.
You know,
that
first
flag
quarter.
comes out, your heart drops, and they waved it off. So got lucky. Yeah.
Flag. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, I didn't have any action on that, so I was like, I was just kind of observing.
Just hoping it wins for it.
That is a roller coaster.
Yes.
Score, flag,
and it stands.
stands.
Yeah. So,
Brutal.
can't
All right,
complain.
so worst beat. Now let's transition over to.
Okay. I have a couple.
dark side.
So one, I don't know if you've seen the ladder challenge, $10 wins 10,000. People are doing them. 2 years ago, I was doing one through Odds Checker, so it was getting all kinds of interaction. We were doing it all over YouTube, Twitter. We get to day 10, so even getting to day 10, like the build up was crazy. It's hard, right? It's winning
hard.
9 days in a row of plus money, and we were doing predominantly college basketball, but we wanted to do one for the Super Bowl because I'm a diehard Eagles fan. So I was between two plays. Jalen Hurts, anytime touchdown. He was scoring every week that year. It was plus 100. And I was between that and then Eagles. I forget what the spread was. It was like -2 or whatever at plus money. And the Eagles are winning at halftime. I'm feeling good. And then they blow the game. So not only did my team lose, did I lose the potential to win $10,000 and did I let down thousands of people? But yeah, that was the worst. I think it was honestly worse because it was my team. Like if it was like another team, it probably wouldn't have hurt as bad. But that one was rough.
It's like the reverse emotional hedge. You
it
should have
is.
bet on the other
I should
side.
have, right? I should have bet on Kansas City. Just money line and plus money. And and then the other thing, I was kicking myself because Hurts did score a touchdown in that game. So it was the typical, I should have done this. But you remember the bad beats, I'll say that, more than you remember the good ones.
100%.
It seems like they come more often.
They do. They do. All right. So last point, just because we're in the heart of the NFL season, I want to talk about a fantasy football trade that I made recently.
Okay.
And I brought this up on a recent podcast, but I'm kind of curious to hear your take because we've had a week now of data to look at after this trade was proposed. So I'd be trading away McCaffrey.
Okay.
I'll do it one by one in terms of like who I'm trading for. So McCaffrey for Jahmyr Gibbs.
Okay.
But it's a three-leg trade on both sides.
Okay.
The second one was I forget who I traded for Garrett Wilson, but who I was proposing to trade. But oh gosh, Malik Neighbors.
Okay.
Trading away Malik Neighbors for Garrett Wilson, and then the last way was Ramondre Stevenson for J.K. Dobbins.
Okay.
Who do you think wins in that trade? Me or the other guy?
I would probably say you won that trade. I think. Well, the thing with McCaffrey, I mean, he's supposed to be coming back, right?
Coming back this Sunday, he's playing.
Is he definitely?
Yeah.
That changes
Confidentially.
yeah, you would
Not
know.
that I actually know,
Honestly, I think that's fairly even. I think Wilson for Neighbors, I would actually give Wilson the win over Neighbors. I know, but I just
you'd rather have Wilson than Neighbors?
I also have Wilson on my fantasy team, so maybe I'm
balled
biased.
out last week.
Yeah, he is.
After the trade. Yeah.
Well, I think people thought getting Devontae might hurt him, but I actually think
helping.
Probably helps, right?
He had
Less double
the most
teams.
insane catch last week.
Crazy catch, 2 touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
That game. And
Okay,
Neighbors,
was that a catch? The shin, the knee.
well, the rule itself, I think a lot of people were confused by. But technically, yes, it's a catch.
So yeah, let's back up, replay it again. So Garrett Wilson, Rodgers to Wilson, one-handed, kind of like
catch.
Beckham-esque, Odell Beckham-esque catch.
Crazy catch.
Comes down, inbounds with
Allegedly.
a part of his body, his shin touched. It looks like his knee comes out of bounds. Both feet definitely do not get in.
Right.
So the refs are reviewing it and kind of thinking like, all right, what in the world? And they ruled it a touchdown. So walk through why or why not that should be a touchdown.
Yeah, so technically, right, the reason why is because you got the foot, and then so if your shin hits, it counts as another foot, right? Now, what I found interesting was earlier I think the Thursday night before, George Pickens catches the ball, right? And he lands 2 of the same foot. So I'm like, it's interesting. Is the shin, like, it's just the rule, right? Interesting kind of how it all works. But
yeah. And it's like his catch was probably, I wouldn't say more legitimate, but like,
right. It felt more like a catch. I mean, it looked like
yeah,
it looked more like a catch, right?
Garrett
Yeah.
Wilson's, I saw it and I was like, those fantasy points are not
No
coming
chance.
my way.
No.
Yeah, I was like, all right, Garrett Wilson, good job. Like, you
Right.
got me
It's
17
great
fantasy
effort.
points.
Yeah.
Good game, good job.
Yeah.
But then I was like, okay, wow, you add another like 8 points on top of that.
Yeah. He's a stud. He's a stud. But so's Neighbors. Honestly, I think that's a pretty even trade.
I know. The Neighbors one was tough just because his first look targets are like,
well, they have no one else to really.
Daniel Jones isn't looking at anyone else, but
Yeah.
I think it's like he's like record setting for percent of first look target. It's unbelievable. It's like 40, 50, 60%.
Gotta be crazy.
Yeah. So anyways, like, okay, you think I won that trade?
I think you won the trade.
First week of the trade, and we're going to keep tabs on this.
You got to keep it, yeah.
Over the season because I also lost the game. I was playing the worst person in the league. I made the trade to try to beat the worst person in the league. I'm second and last. I am now last in the league. It is what it is. We got a couple more weeks. I'll dig myself out.
Yeah.
But those three guys, Gibbs, Dobbins, and Wilson, brought me in 72 fantasy points of the 105.
There you go.
So 3 of the 10 guys on my team drove like 75%.
Yeah.
So I think it was a good trade. Net. The rest of the team, I think, looked at them and was like, all right, they're going to carry us.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, didn't show up this Sunday. So
it's a long season. You got time. You got some weeks left.
Yeah. Unfortunately, if I finish in last, you'll find me at an IHOP nearby eating a lot of pancakes as the punishment. So cross your fingers for me.
Yeah.
If I have any more trade ideas before the deadline on November 29th, I'm going to ask you and see if I can get some advice.
Text me. I'll help you out.
Yeah. It's been a blast having you on the CEO Corner. I'm excited to spend some more time. We'll go grab a beer and hang out.
So, appreciate you having me. Had a great time.
Yeah, we'll do this again soon. See y'all soon.